Hello, crypto world. Welcome to the Chart Historian. My name is Justin, and I will be your host. So today I'm looking at the XRP chart, and what I'd like to do is discuss this area right here, the time in between bear markets and bull markets. So this may look like random, sloppy nothingness, but I would like to present a case that it actually has some level of order and structure to it. Before we get started though, I'd like to point out I am not a financial advisor, so anything I present here should not be construed as financial or investment advice. All right, let's get started. Now the best place to start is at the beginning. So let's go to the beginning. So here we are at the very beginning of XRP. This started in August 2013. Now, why do I talk about going to the beginning? Well, this is the first instance of sideways movement or range-bound movement in the XRP chart. The reason why you want to go back to the very beginning is because that is where the original pattern begins. So everything moving forward in time from this point that is a sideways movement is a rendition of this. That is my thesis. Now, you have to understand a core fundamental thing about fractals. Fractals repeat, but there are some variables that will change their appearance. That it is time, height, and depth. So some fractals can be stretched out very long due to time. Some fractals can have parts of them that go much higher. Some parts may go much lower. Some parts may not move up at all, hardly. However, this fundamental pattern should be there. So this may look like a nothing burger. Can't really discern what's happening, but let me help you. Bam! Now there's a little more structure on the chart. All right, so as you can see, I've broken these into three basic fractals. Let's study them. So fractal 1 has two parts, A and B. Part A goes up, does a peak, and if you notice, it's almost like a split peak. It does, or has two parts to it. It does one part here, and then finally one part here that's higher. Comes crashing down, and then B basically comes up. In this case, I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't always come up this high, and then it basically travels sideways and down to a point where the next move starts again. So that is pattern A. Pattern 1, fractal 1. Fractal 2 has a similar move up at the beginning as pattern 1. It even has the first part and the second part comes crashing down, and then it forms another wave here. This is the B wave, and then finally a smaller wave, wave C, which brings it to a point where the next fractal 3 begins. Now fractal 3, the essence of it is it goes up, comes crashing down, comes back up again, has this little correction, and then it goes on to a bull market. In this case, we have these three little peaks. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. So let's move on to the next part of the XRP chart where it goes flat and see if we can find some resemblance, some similarity to this. Okay, so here we are at the next time that it goes sideways, and this is July 14th all the way to November 14th. This right here is the tail end of the bear market. It's the capitulation point. I label this pattern F. I've done a video on it. You can go back and watch it and learn more about this fractal right here. So after pattern F completes, price again shoots back up. Now remember that split part in wave A in pattern 1. Now what I've done here is, this is CoinTrader Pro. I'm able to put it on a small time frame, so I have it on a 2-hour candle, so it has more definition, and we can use it to compare against the original. So this was the first time in the very beginning where these patterns came into existence. So we are going to compare what is happening right here in the XRP chart back to the original. All right, so remember, pattern 1 had part A, where it was that split peak type thing, and then part B went kind of flat. Let's see. So we have that split peak here. The B part goes flat. Now, it didn't quite go as high as the other time, or maybe this one went higher than the original. This one, it was lower. You're going to see that most of them that occur have part A that's higher. All right, so we see a similarity there. What about pattern 2? So pattern 2 has A, B, C. It's basically kind of flat, and then you have these, they just kind of jut out. B is just like up one day, down the next. C is kind of plays out a little more in similarity to what C did in the first time it happened. It kind of comes up, goes down at an angle. So A has that split thing. Here it also has that split thing right there. B, instead of doing a nice graceful swell like a wave, B is just abrupt, but it is there. It goes up. It follows the basic pattern. You have the A, B, C parts to it. So pattern 3. It comes up, comes to a peak, comes crashing down. From there it moves back up, does that little correction point, and then it moves on into the bull run. Let's see if that jives with the original pattern. So it moves up. Here we have these peaks, but still, if you follow the baseline, it moves up to a peak, comes crashing down, goes back up, has that little correction part right here before the bull run. Plays out slightly different, but it's the same theme at work. Let's move on to the next part of the XRP chart where it goes sideways. Okay, so here we are again. So this time, this took place from May 5th, 2015 to March 2017. Whew, much more time. So here is that capitulation fractal, which I labeled F, comes to a point, and bam, it shoots back up, and we get the first fractal. Has that split right there, one part, and then it goes up higher, comes crashing down. Wave B, this whole, everything here is more vertically kind of oriented. It's much more steep. B kind of winds its way down to a point. You know, if you zoom in, it may not look as steep, but it still is steeper than the other one. So let's compare it to the original. So the original over here doesn't quite go as high, but it has those two parts, A and B, which comes to a point before the next push up, comes to a point here before the next push up. Let's move on to pattern 2. So there is similarity in pattern 1. Of course, it plays out uniquely every single time. So pattern 2 has part A, part B. This is a little more looking normal, where it's a graceful kind of swell. And then C, which is always smaller, that seems to be in keeping with pattern 2. So you have A, which is the peak. You have this nice graceful kind of wave right here, and then the smaller one, just like we have in this one compared. So you have the bigger one and then the smaller one. So that's wave 2, and it has the A, B, C part to it. So part 3. So it comes up, it even has those little peaks, and then it comes crashing down, moves back up, and then it has that little correction, part B before the bull run. So that, I would say, is in keeping with part 3, where you have the move up, even has the little peaks, comes crashing down. You have the correction right here before the bull run. So we are seeing that while they are different every time, there is a theme being repeated here. So let's move along. Okay, so here we are in August 2017, and it went all the way to December 2017. So here we have the move up, comes to a peak, comes crashing down. This one went quite high, and then it winds its way down to a point, just like in the original. We have a peak, goes up, and it winds its way down to a point where the next move begins. So here the next move begins, comes up, even has that split kind of peak just like it has here, and then it moves down. Now here, this almost doesn't look like a wave at all, but if you look down here, this dips lower, comes back up, just doesn't go as high, and it actually even has that kind of graceful swoop that the other ones have, the other B parts have, and then it goes down low. So this I consider a wave, even though it didn't make it as high as C and what typically happens with B. C looks very kind of in keeping with the original here, where it comes up and kind of goes down at an angle like that. So let's look at 3. So pattern 3, it moves up, comes to a peak, a very dramatic peak right here. It even has one of those little peaks right there, and then comes crashing down, and then comes back up, and there's that little tiny correction there before the bull run. So I venture to say that this one also may be slightly different from the original, but it's the same theme, just like we've seen with the other ones. So let's keep moving. All right, so this is the last one that has occurred on the chart, and this one took a really long time. This one took from September 2018 all the way to April 2021. So man, that was a long one. Now it's random, the time, like some are longer, some are shorter. It's just timing is you can't really predict. So here it comes up. It even has that 2-part to it. This one is higher than the other one, comes crashing down, and then it comes up a little, not quite as high, kind of winds its way down. Just like here in wave 1, you have part A is a peak, then it moves back up, winds its way down to a point, brings it. In this one, it's flatter. Well, actually, they're both kind of flat. Right there, and then part 2 moves up, part 2 moves up, and then it comes crashing down to make wave B. Wave C is kind of much more, I would say, resembles the original right there. There's that nice wave pattern to B, which also exists in this B as well. Again, played out original, but it's the same basic theme. So pattern 3, this one's interesting. So it moves kind of flat, and then poof, it goes up, comes crashing down, moves back up, does that correction before it takes off into its bull run. And this one is very clear, it took a long time to form this one. So even though it's flat, the other ones kind of went up more gracefully, like here. This one goes kind of flat and then abruptly boom, but it's the same basic idea. Goes up, comes crashing down, moves back up and does that little correction, and then off it goes into the bull run. So that brings us where we are today. Now today, and by the way, this right here is the SEC lawsuit. That's when it happened. So abrupt, bam. So What comes next for XRP? Well, after the decline, I believe this is part F we're working on, comes pattern 1, where it's going to move up. It's going to do a peak, just like it. Something similar to here, moves up, does a peak, then moves up again, and then kind of moves flat to a point, or where it moves up again, or maybe flat kind of down to a point where it moves back up again. So that is where we are now. Well, I hope this video was helpful in some way. You know, this part in the XRP chart is challenging to make sense of and navigate, but I do believe that there is a basic structure at play here, and as an XRP holder, it behooves us to kind of be familiar with what is going on as much as possible. Well, I hope this video has been helpful. If you found it helpful, it'd be much appreciated if you hit that thumbs up button. You can also hit the subscribe button and the bell, and you'll be notified of when I put out content. I put out content on a regular basis. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChartHistorian. I'm so glad you caught this video. I hope it made sense. Sometimes I feel like I'm not the best teacher, but I try to present it as clear as I can. I hope you catch my next video. Have a great day, and bye for now.